Alrighty, so I have my tumbler already ready. I've primed it with the rust-oleum 2 times flat white. I've also went ahead and applied my epoxy already as well. I use an extremely thin layer, about 5 milliliters. In my other tutorials, I show how I apply my epoxy using the epoxy method. So if you need help with that, you can watch the other tutorial. But in this video, I use the Yaya's Pearl White. I'll link that glitter in the description below. But I make sure I have a nice full coverage. It's sometimes hard to tell when you're doing a white glitter on a white base. So I just go around a few times to make sure that everything's covered nice and evenly. Now I'm going to take another piece of paper to catch the rose gold glitter. And I always do this on my ombres with the chunky. I always use the finer blend underneath so you get a nice coverage. And you're just going to gently shake that over the bottom part where it meets the bottom of the white glitter. It doesn't have to look perfect because this is going underneath the chunky, but you just want to make sure you're covering all of the white. And just make sure everything's covered. And now this is just what I do. When I'm done, I'm going to just put my finger right into the glitter and sprinkle it right where it would start blending. And I just do that a few times until I think it looks like a nice blend, because you don't want it to be too much right there. And then just go back over if you missed any spots. And just sprinkle it on there until you think it looks how you want it to be blended. Now you're just going to want to take your cup off the turner. Make sure you shut off your turner first. And then take it off and make sure you get the bottom of your cup. I never put chunky on the bottom, so you want to make sure that the bottom has a nice full coverage as well, because I think that when you do chunky on the bottom, sometimes it's hard to get it even and it's a lot of sanding. But just a little bit on there and you should be good. And then you're going to want to let this turn for 6 to 8 hours. That's how long I usually let my cups turn. And then you can come back and do your next coat. Alright, it's been about 6 to 8 hours since I let this turn all night. And after I let it turn, I went and sprayed it with 2 coats of clear rust-oleum, the 2 times rust-oleum brand, just because sometimes if it's not sealed on there well, the darker color will run into the white and you don't want that. So I just let that dry for about an hour or so to make sure it was on there well. And I already went ahead and pre-mixed my epoxy. And if I do a white on top, I try to mix or start from the top and work it down. So none of, like, just in case any of the rose gold goes into the white. And you're going to want to make sure it's kind of thick over the rose gold, because once you're done, you're going to go over that with the chunky, and you want to make sure that it sticks well. Now I'm just going to take a sheet of paper and put it underneath, because I'm going to go over the rose gold now with the chunky rose gold. This also doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to do it gently where it's going to be blending in. Make sure you have a nice coverage going all the way around the cup. And go over if you think there's not enough. And then this is where I do the same thing with the chunky as well to make it a nice blend for the ombre. I just put a little bit on my finger and just rub it between my fingers and go over that line where you want it to blend. And you just do this until you like the way that it looks. Once I'm finished putting on my chunky rose gold, I'm going to just go over it with a gloved finger to make sure none of the glitter's sticking up, and make sure it's all flat, because if it's not, you're going to be doing a lot of sanding. You'll have to do extra coats and it's not going to be smooth, and it's just a pain. And then once I'm done, I let this turn for another 6 to 8 hours, and after that I'm going to take it off again and seal it with the 2 times clear rust-oleum, just to make sure everything's in place. And I have found that when I seal it, I don't get any fish eyes over my chunky glitter. So just do 1 or 2 coats and then you should be fine. And then ready for your next coat of epoxy. I've let my cup turn for 6 to 8 hours, And then I went ahead and sealed it twice with the 2x clear sealer. And I've already mixed my epoxy, got it ready, and I've sanded some parts that I thought weren't that smooth. And I'm just going to do a nice coat of epoxy on this, and then after you let it turn for another 6 to 8 hours, you'll be ready to apply your decal. My cup is now ready for a decal. I already went ahead and sanded my cup a little bit where some parts weren't entirely smooth, but you definitely want to make sure your cup is perfectly smooth where you're applying the decal so you don't have any bumps underneath your decal. And I used rose gold. I think it's called chrome rose gold vinyl from 650 or Vinyl World 651. 651 Vinyl World? I forget. I'll find the link and post it in the description. But I went ahead and cut that with my Cricut, and I used the font, let's see, what's it called? Reading Regular. And I'll post a link for that font as well in the description. But you're just going to want to go ahead and make sure that's even and straight on your cup. Sometimes metallic or like holographic vinyl tears very easily, so you're going to want to be extra careful when you apply it and pull up the transfer tape. And once that's done, you're going to wipe down your tumbler with alcohol and put it on, and it'll be ready for its final coat of epoxy. Alrighty, so my tumbler's ready, my epoxy's mixed. I sanded a few more parts at the bottom that were a little rough, and since this is my final coat of epoxy, I don't want it to be bumpy at all. So you just want to have a nice coat on there, and then let it turn for another 6 to 8 hours, and then it'll be finished. Here we are. This is the cup all finished. The glitter chunky ombre tumbler using the epoxy method. If you all have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'm also going to post my Facebook and my Instagram in the description, as well as everything I used in this video will be linked in the description. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel to see future tutorials. And thank you all so much for watching. Bye.